Hello everyone, welcome to Barca News. It is June 14th, 2025, and Hansi Flick has called up yet another youngster from the academy. Also, it's reported that Barcelona have officially paid the release clause of Joan Garcia. And finally, Raphinha has caused some controversy on social media with one of his likes, and it concerns the Ballon d'Or awards. We have a lot to discuss, so let's begin. Hello everyone, welcome to the channel. My name is Mo, and we'll begin this video with the news that there's a new club interested in the services of Xavi Hernandez. Xavi, who spent last season on sabbatical, he took the year off and now he is ready to go back to work. He is ready to coach another team, and he has been linked to several clubs these past few weeks, but now there is a new club from an unlikely destination, and that destination is Saudi Arabia, as Al Ahly are now interested in hiring Xavi Hernandez as their manager, since their current manager, Matthias Yesle, I think that's how you say it, he is headed to RB Leipzig, or at least it looks like he's headed to RB Leipzig, leaving an opening spot at Al Ahly, and they are interested in Xavi Hernandez, but they're also interested in Postecoglou. So Xavi Hernandez will have to battle it out with the former Tottenham coach to see who would become Al Ahly's coach, where if Xavi does take the job, he could end up reuniting with, of course, Frank Kessie, someone that Xavi Hernandez coached during his time at Barcelona. Now, it's unlikely that Xavi does end up agreeing to go into Saudi, because it's reported that he's more looking for a European team. We'll see where Xavi goes. They're saying he's kind of waiting for like the right project, and that he would be even willing to wait until 2026 for the right project. He's not going to take any job. He wants a special project, a project that attracts him. So we'll see where Xavi Hernandez will end up. And of course, I want to hear you guys' thoughts. Where would you like to see Xavi Hernandez coaching? Let me know down below in the comment section. Now, speaking of coaching, Hansi Flick has called up yet another youngster to the preseason, and it's no other than Guille Fernandez, the 16-year-old center midfielder, someone who is described more of a box-to-box midfielder. I guess if you were to compare him to someone famous, I guess it would be kind of similar, like a Jude Bellingham. But that's Guille Fernandez, who has been called up to the preseason, where he's going to train with the first team, participate in the preseason with the first team, and see if he can earn a spot on Hansi Flick's squad. And of course, Guille Fernandez joins now the ranks of other youngsters that Flick has called up from La Masia, including Pedro Fernandez, Juan Hernandez, Joffre Torrens, Landre Farré, and of course, Guille Fernandez's cousin, which is Tony Fernandez, and all of them will be battling it out to see if they can earn a spot on the first team. As far as Guille, his future is a little bit still up in the air, because his contract does expire in 2026. Barcelona would like to extend it, but so far, he hasn't made up his mind. He wants to stay in Barcelona. He wants to earn a spot on the first team, but of course, he sees that the midfield is pretty stacked. And he has also received some very tempting offers from other clubs like Dortmund and Porto, two clubs known for developing young talent. But for now, Guille is focused on Barcelona. Hopefully, it stays that way. And of course, we'll see if he'll convince Hansi Flick during the summer. Now, on to the next bit of news, because Raphinha has caused some controversy on social media when it comes to the Ballon d'Or, because he liked a Brazilian publication that discussed Ballon d'Or robberies, I guess. This publication has a list of different robberies where they claim, Brazilian players have been robbed in the past. There's one about Penaldo robbing Neymar of Ballon d'Or. There's another publication talking about Messi robbing Neymar of a Ballon d'Or. There's a publication about Vinicius Jr. being robbed last year at the hands of Rodri. And, well, they have an article saying that it looks like another Brazilian player will be robbed this season by the Ballon d'Or, which is Coutinho, because right now nobody's talking about him, right? People are talking about Dembele, Lamine, but nobody's really mentioning Raphinha. So this publication mentioning that Raphinha will be robbed, and of course Raphinha liking that publication, and it's caused a lot of controversy because it seems like the Brazilian player is kind of agreeing with this, that he is going to be robbed if he doesn't win it. And of course my question to you is, if Raphinha doesn't win it, do you think he would be getting robbed? My opinion, I think Lamine deserves it a little bit more, even though Raphinha's numbers are out of this world as far as the Ballon d'Or. But let's not forget, the Ballon d'Or is not a numbers competition. It's not a trophy given based on numbers. That's just one of the many, many factors. The trophies based on strictly on numbers, it's the Golden Boot, for example, the Pichichi. Those are based strictly on numbers. Ballon d'Or looks at the overall, and I think Lamine Yamal is the kind of player that, can completely change the outcome of a match by himself, can completely make, all the difference by himself, as opposed to Raphinha, who's not really that kind of player. So I think, in my opinion, Lamine deserves it more, but if Raphinha wins it, I think it would totally be deserved. I'm not going to say, oh, he got robbed, nothing like that. I think it would be a robbery if it's given to Dembele, because even though Dembele has won the treble, at the end of the day, he didn't show up until January. And for me, it would be a robbery to give the Ballon d'Or to a player who only showed up half the season versus Raphinha and Lamine, who showed up the entire season. But of course, I want to hear you guys' thoughts, so let me know down below in the comment section, who do you think deserves to win the Ballon d'Or? And from this news, we move on to the next bit of news, because, ladies and gentlemen, it's confirmed Barcelona have officially paid the release clause of Joan Garcia. Of course, as you know, several days ago, Barcelona reached a full agreement with Joan Garcia after his agent and attorneys were seen at the city of Barcelona. All contracts were signed, and now Barcelona paid a 25 million euros release clause to La Liga in order to release the player from Espanyol. And it's reported that the only thing pending is for La Liga to, go through all the paperwork, approve the paperwork, and once that's approved, Joan Garcia will officially become a Barcelona player. But of course, it's the weekend, La Liga's closed, so it looks like we're gonna have to wait for an official announcement this upcoming week. Now, it is reported that Barcelona don't want to make the official announcement until Joan Garcia says goodbye to his team, to Espanyol. And once he does that, however he wants to do it, social media, go in person, I don't know. Once he does it, then Barcelona will make it official. But it looks like we could be having an official announcement this upcoming week once La Liga is done reviewing all the paperwork. Because, yes, the agreement is sealed with the player. Everything's signed. Barcelona paid the release clause. Joan Garcia will become a goalkeeper. Barcelona goalkeeper, not a goalkeeper. He's already a goalkeeper, but he will become a Barcelona goalkeeper. And by the way, if you had any doubts, check out this post by the glove maker, the goalkeeper glove maker named Rinat. Again, they're a company that makes gloves for goalkeepers. They sponsor Joan Garcia, so they give him gloves to use. And they posted this picture of Joan Garcia wearing their glove, and it says, El Cancerbero Blaugrana Joan Garcia. In other words, the Blaugrana goalkeeper Joan Garcia. So his sponsor are already, counting him as a Barca player because, of course, again, everything is done, ready, just pending the approval of La Liga. Now, speaking of Joan Garcia, of course, we do have to figure out what's going to happen with our other goalkeepers, starting with Wojciech Szczesny, who Barcelona want to renew for one more season until 2026 with an option to extend until 2027. And it's reported that Szczesny will put pen to paper, and the announcement of his renewal will be made after Barcelona announce Joan Garcia. And then there is, of course, Iñaki Peña, who is set to leave. And now the good news is that Iñaki Peña has confirmed to the club that he will not be forcing his stay. In other words, he's not gonna force the club to keep him until next summer, 2026, when he becomes a free agent. He wants to, he wants to look for more minutes, and therefore he will be looking to leave during this summer transfer market. So, of course, this opens the door for Barcelona, or for the possibility that Barcelona could earn some kind of transfer fee. Maybe they do end up rescinding his contract and allowing him to go for free so he can negotiate with whoever he wants. But the good news is that Iñaki will be leaving. He's not going to force his way, and he's not going to force his stay until next summer. So that's, of course, good news, because that's one less salary that Barcelona would have to worry about if the player ends up staying. So now the only big question mark, of course, will be what's going to happen with Mark ter Stegen, because so far the German goalkeeper has said he has a contract and he wants to stay at Barcelona. Now let's end this video with another video, because Joan Laporta was asked about the whole Nico Williams situation, because as you know, yesterday a bombshell was dropped that by Carlos Monfort that announced that Deco had met with Nico Williams' agent. Nico Williams requested from his agent to approach Barcelona to let them know that he wants to play at Barcelona. He's willing to accept the salary that they offered him last summer, which is 12 million euro gross or 6 million euros net, and that he is, willing to accept any terms, and he's dying to come to Barcelona. Of course, that meeting did happen. Of course, they're still pending the whole negotiation. That was just a meeting to announce, hey, Nico wants to come. And after that meeting, it's been announced that now Nico Williams is no longer ruled out. As you know, Barcelona had ruled out Nico Williams because he hadn't come to Barcelona last summer, and the club were kind of like, okay, well, he has to make the first move, otherwise we're not going to consider him. So now that Nico Williams has taken a first step forward, he's no longer ruled out. He's back on the list of possible signings for Barcelona. And while Joan Laporta was asked yesterday as he was leaving an event, hey, what's going on with Nico Williams? Is the signing back on? And this is what Laporta said. Let's watch the video together. Now, here we go. As you can see, Laporta is, by his card. He gets asked, hey, is the whole Nico Williams saga back on? He laughs. He stays quiet. And then he laughs again. He looks at the reporter. He says, you are incorrigible. You are incorrigible. And then he wishes everybody a good day and gets into his car. So, Joan Laporta, laughing it off, not saying anything. But if there's one thing we've learned in the world of football, that usually when, presidents, agents, players, whatever, they don't really negate something, that means it is happening. Like here, he's not confirming anything about Nico Williams, but he's also not saying, no, we're not considering Nico Williams. So, in other words, there is something there. And, of course, we know there's something there because Deco was spotted leaving the hotel where he met Nico Williams' agent. Anyways, that is all the news for this video. We'll be uploading another video in a few moments, so stay tuned to the channel. Don't forget to hit the like button, subscribe to the channel, drop a comment, and as always, Visca Barça.